This is Daily Armenia, CivilNet's daily news digest. Here's what's making headlines in Armenia today. Members of the European Parliament condemned Azerbaijan's repressive policies, calling to end the gas deal between the country and the European Union and urging protection of Armenian cultural heritage in Nagorno-Karabakh, while also criticising Baku as the host for COP29, a United Nations climate summit scheduled for this November. COP29 is a scandal, a shame that will tarnish the very history of commitment to environmental protection in a country from which we buy gas, which is once again our collective cowardice. French MEP François-Xavier Bellamy said, urging the EU to terminate the gas agreement with Azerbaijan. The debate opened with EU Commissioner Nicolas Schmit emphasising the potential of COP29 to showcase Azerbaijan's commitment to human rights, but MEPs responded by focusing on Azerbaijan's repressive actions and its ethnic cleansing of Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh. Numerous MEPs emphasised solidarity with displaced Armenians, the need to guarantee their return to Nagorno-Karabakh, and called on the EU to exert more pressure on Azerbaijan to improve its human rights record and respect international law. The European Parliament has limited power and primarily functions to debate and pass non-binding resolutions, exerting influence through political pressure rather than direct enforcement. Legislative authority rests largely with the European Commission and Council, making Parliament's role more advisory in nature. Armenia has provided asylum to a Belarusian national who is wanted in his home country on charges that are likely politically motivated, the Armenian office of the Helsinki Citizens Assembly, an international human rights group, reported today. Vladimir Belandin, who is 36, was charged with embezzlement in Belarus, but his attorney argues the real reason behind the charges is his participation in the 2020 protests that followed the presidential elections in Belarus, widely viewed as rigged to keep the country's longtime leader, Alexander Lukashenko, in power. Belarusian authorities targeted him as part of a broader crackdown on demonstrators following the rally. Belandin was detained by Armenian police at a checkpoint on the border with Georgia in March, following an arrest warrant issued by Belarus. Since then, he has remained in custody, facing the risk of potential extradition. Numerous human rights activists criticize Armenia's authorities for even considering such a scenario, pointing out that Belarus is a dictatorship and a country that still uses the death penalty. Now that Belandin has been granted asylum, his extradition is no longer a concern. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, many opponents of the regimes of Vladimir Putin and Alexander Lukashenko have fled Russia and Belarus as both governments intensified their crackdown on dissent, passing new repressive laws criminalizing actions like defaming the military or calling for peace. Although both countries have issued international warrants for many critics, Armenia, despite detaining several individuals wanted under these charges, has not extradited a single person accused of political offences. The relations between Armenia and Belarus, Russia's closest ally, frayed in June when Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan accused Minsk of providing support to Baku during the 2020 war in Nagorno-Karabakh. Pashinyan also demanded an apology from Lukashenko and said that neither he nor any other Armenian officials would visit Belarus while the latter is in office. Armenia will establish an elite unit within the national police, namely the police guard, with authority to use riot control weapons during martial law, Deputy Minister of the Interior Arpine Sargsyan said in Parliament today, according to Armenian TV Channel 1. This equipment may be used during counter-terrorism operations or when carrying out special assignments in military conditions during martial law. In other cases, the use of this special equipment will be prohibited, Sargsyan said, adding that the police guard was initially expected to be established next March, but now its initiation has been postponed to November 2025. During parliamentary discussions on the respective bill, the provision allowing the Prime Minister to use the police guard for special assignments outside martial law was removed, limiting the national leader's control over the unit. You can also read our report on the ongoing signature collection campaign that is calling for a referendum to be held in Armenia on whether the country should start membership negotiations with the European Union. As we interviewed volunteers and citizens at signature collection points, they explained their motivations for signing the petition, expressing hopes for EU membership and disappointment with Russia's policies towards Armenia. This coverage provides insight into the growing public support for European integration and a potential change in Armenia's political landscape that might happen due to these developments. You can read the full article on our website at CivilNet.am or by following the link in the video description below. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.